Hello, my name is Kirioth, and welcome to the Neglect Olympics for Warhammer 40k. Not at all overly dramatic, that name. Nope. Very sensible, very clear, level-headed name for this video. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host Barry, nearly pointed with the wrong finger there. There he is. Give him a tickle. Oh, there he is. And Barry is, of course, overlooking proceedings, as he does, to make sure all is above board and the judgment has been laid out accordingly. Now, what is the Neglect Olympics? Well, it is very much what it sounds like. Which ranges have been the most neglected by Games Workshop over the last few years, shall we say? How long has it been since a dedicated release? How many models have been lost from said ranges? We're going to have a chat about the three worst. Before we go any further, a couple of ground rules. Actually, things like Space Wolves, Dark Angels and Blood Angels have not done too badly over the amount of time that we're kind of looking at, which is essentially about 10 years, and it's about 10 years specifically because of one of the finalists in the Neglect Olympics. Things like the introduction of the Primaris stuff has meant that a lot of Space Marine stuff effectively is fine. Maybe not as many unique specific releases as you might like for your Blood Angels or Dark Angels or Space Wolves, but you're not short of options. For the most part, generic Space Marine units are being counted towards things like Deathwatch and all of that. There is a notable exception to this, in the form of the Grey Knights, which we will get to, for good reason. And, yeah, for the most part, there's actually been not too bad, which means that the ones that have really stood out have really stood out. I've narrowed it down to the three most neglected. Things like Assassins, we're ignoring, because there's 4 of them, and that's it. And, yeah, there's no point going into that. 2015 anyway, so not terrible. And things like the Inari, again, there's a vast array of other models to go with the Triumvirate, so that is kind of a moot point as well. Now, I feel like special mention should be made for both the Dark Eldar and the Eldar, and the Harlequins, and the Tau as well, actually. There's quite a few that have not really had that much love in recent times, but I hope you will agree that when it comes to sheer outright neglect, the armies that have made this list have it pretty rough. I mean, there's one of them that I can see maybe a few raised eyebrows, but I'm hoping that you'll go with me on the logic. Now, the question is, which are the 3 worst? Well, you heard me mention Grey Knights. Let's start with Grey Knights. Let's start with... I was going to try and do these bronze, silver and gold, but to be honest, it's kind of interchangeable and it's sort of difficult. I will say that for... Actually, let's start out bronze. I've changed the way I'm doing this on the fly, which is never a good idea. We're going to start out with bronze. In bronze place, we have the Imperial Guard, because the Imperial Guard have not really had anything sizable in terms of releases since 2014. They have, of course, had Sly Marbo. They have had Severina Rain. They've had the Catachan Colonel, or that was a super limited model, so does it even count? What do you reckon, Barry?
No.
Barry says no, it doesn't count. And we've also had Vasquez, whatever her name was. I forget the name of that character, but there was another female Catachan as well. Outside of those 4 characters, they have had nothing since 2014. They've had nothing since, well, I mean, January, February, March. Yeah, March of 2014. So they're kind of looking a little bit neglected. They have technically had named characters come out, but overall, nothing. Now, they've been very quiet. Not only have they been very quiet in terms of new releases, the Imperial Guard, but they also had a significant chunk of their range axed. Things like the Steel Legion, the Vostroyans, the Mordians was the other one? Was there a 4th one? There was a 4th one, wasn't there? I can't remember what it was, though. Essentially, everything other than the Catachans and the Cadians disappeared. Now, those are the 2 options that you have. You don't have anything else. So not only have they had like no significant releases in terms of vehicles, in terms of like, well, just in terms of anything standard guard, they have also lost a significant amount of their actual variation and choice, which is kind of rubbish. Not great. Not great for the Imperial Guard. They sit pretty in bronze place. Now, the gap between silver and gold, that is actually very close. See, technically the Grey Knights have had releases. But I'm treating the Grey Knights slightly differently to the rest of the Space Marines because the Grey Knights do not operate the same way as the rest of the Space Marines. You can conceivably do a full Space Wolf or... I nearly said Shield Wolf, but that is entirely because of Stormgrad, who has a Shield Wolves army. Space Wolves, Blood Angels, and Dark Angels, you can technically get away with just running them as Primaris. They are not lacking in new releases. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they can mess with. Grey Knights, not so. You cannot mess about with Primaris when it comes to Grey Knights, because they are super special, and they can only use the things that they can use. Primaris is not part of that. They have had a couple of generic releases. In 2015, they had the Librarian and Terminator armour. And in 2012, they had the Storm Talon gunship. But outside of those generic releases, Grey Knights have seen one single model since 2011. And that was Grandmaster Voldus in 2017, which I believe was Gathering Storm era. That is rough. That is bad. That is like 9 years with one dedicated release for that army. That army has not been updated to use any of the new Space Marine stuff. It's not possible. It's not a thing you can do. They are languishing in the dust with like... We're getting close to a decade without a new Grey Knight, anything outside of a single named character. I mean, they're only in silver rather than gold because they have technically had a couple of releases, but pretty much everything that they have was released in the same, like, roughly the same month in 2011, and they've had absolutely nothing since then. It is dry. It is parched. If you're a Grey Knights player, you are being absolutely starved of sustenance. Naff all. Naff all for you there, I'm afraid. Nothing. Since 2011. It's bad. Now, onto the gold medal in the Neglect Olympics. Barry feels a kinship with the gold medal holder. Barry knows what it's like to be a Xenos in a world of Space Marines. Barry would quite like some new boys, to be honest. Barry would like that, but Barry feels as though perhaps, given that we now have Ghazghkull, we had a bunch of new vehicles, that maybe it might be time for the Tyranids to get something, anything, because they have had nothing since 2014. That's 6 years with no releases at all. Now, you might be sitting there and going, well, hang on, whoa. Just, what about Genestealer cults? You can't just say that Tyranids have got nothing when Genestealer cults showed up and they've had a bunch of stuff. I mean, they got a load of stuff recently. They got the cool bikes, the quad bikes. They got the Ridge Runner thing. That's cool. Yeah, but I've made this mistake myself. I have made this mistake. I once said, I don't know if it was in a video. I don't think it was in a video. It might have just been at Warhammer World or something. But I was like, well, I mean, Tyranids have got quite a bit of stuff because the Genestealer cults have come out. Just pointed out to me, no, that's not the attitude. That is a separate army. It is a separate army. If you want to build a Tyranid army of big Gribblies and hordes of Gaunts, you can't do that with Genestealer cults. If you want a whole herd of Carnifexes, what good is a Rock Grinder? If you want like 4 Morlocks or whatever, or Trigons, you're not going to buy a Ridge Runner because they're not the same thing. They're not even remotely the same thing. They might have overlap. There might be a considerable amount of thematic connection, obviously, because Genestealer cults, Genestealers, but they're not the same force. They're not the same army. They don't do the same thing. They don't have the same visual style. They have a connected style, but it's not like they're identical. It's not like their units just stand in for one another. And, you know, if you want to play Tyranids, then you clearly want to buy this selection of 4-wheeled and 2-wheeled vehicles. No, the Tyranids have had absolutely nothing for 6 years. The Broodlord was the last thing. And, oh man, not only was it the last thing, but I've just noticed, it's even worse than that. So the Broodlord was December of 2014. Didn't see a solo release until 2016. So that thing had a 2-year, 1.5 year, technically. 1.5 year stint as just being available in the Shield of Baal Deathstorm box. Couldn't even get it by itself. So the thing that they had last, they then had to wait a year and a half to even buy it solo. That is rough. That is poor. That is not what you want. Oh Lord, poor Tyranids. Give them something, for the love of God. Tyranids, Grey Knights, and Guard. Just, I mean, really, anything will do. Anything's fine. You know, give them whatever you want. Just give them something. Come on. Grey Knights especially I feel bad for. One named character. I mean, I know they're in silver, but that almost makes me want to shift them. But maybe there's a tie for gold. I don't know. It's just not great. It is not great. The thing is, what could they do with it? What could they add? Well, I'm not a miniature designer, so I'm not sure. I want to see more giant monsters for Tyranids, but then that's obviously because the giant monsters are the best part. But yeah, if you play any of those armies, which I'm sure a good number of you will, let me know what you would like to see with an eventual release for one of these poor, neglected, orphaned children of the Games Workshop Warhammer 40k range, because they need something, let's be honest. They really do. So long, so dry. Oh, it's so dry. I mean, yeah, that's all pretty dry, pretty arid, just desert for miles, not a drop of water in sight. God damn. Anyway, that is the Neglect Olympics. We have, as I say, Imperial Guard in bronze. We have Grey Knights in silver, and we have Tyranids in gold. Take a moment, take a second out of your day to pray for these poor red-headed stepchildren, and just hope that something happens with them at some point soon. Oh man, having said that, Primaris Grey Knights, anyone? You know it's going to happen. Well, I don't know. We'll see. There's a prediction that actually probably isn't a prediction at all. Anyway, this is getting rambly and silly. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you would like to see for those forces in the future, provided Games Workshop remembered they exist. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you would like to see for each of those 3 neglected ranges. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things. If you would like to subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. You don't have to. It doesn't do a huge amount anymore, but it makes the number next to my name go up, which makes me happy, because I'm shallow like that. So you can do that if you would like. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you for the next one.